You're listening to the Health Courage Collective podcast, episode 91, The Big Get. Welcome to the Health Courage Collective podcast, the show for women who are too busy to slog through hours of generalized, inapplicable, and often contradictory health information, but too smart to ignore that a few minutes of focused attention now can prevent years of suffering in the future. I'm your host, Christina Hackett, a pharmacist who doesn't want you to live on prescriptions, a certified coach specifically trained to maximize your potential, and a compulsive learner obsessed with preventative, cutting-edge, holistic, and integrative medicine. I'm on a mission to increase your physical and mental resilience so you can fearlessly look forward to your next 40-plus limitless years. Your time is now. Let's go. Hello, and welcome to another episode. I'm so happy you're here today. How is your metabolism? Do you feel like you better understand what people are talking about when they throw the term metabolic health around? It's not about body weight. It's about the efficiency and strength of the mitochondria in your cells. You can influence those cellular organelles a lot by what little choices you consistently make. And your influence on your mitochondria plays a huge role in whether you'll someday get cancer or Alzheimer's or heart disease or whatever. Today, we're going to talk about the big get. This is a term I heard just as part of a regular sentence in high performance coach Steve Chandler's book, Fearless. I love it. He didn't go on and on about it, but I'm going to. The big get. I think it's what most of the world is after. It's what we're taught to go for. You need to be striving for your own personal big get. Once you get the thing you want or crave or need or deserve, you'll have arrived. Everything will be fantastic forever. If we hustle fast enough, sweat hard enough, and think enough positive thoughts often enough, we'll get to the place where everything is effortless. Once we get the thing, we can finally start living. Life will finally be good enough for us. Our struggle will all have been worth it. And more importantly, it will come to an end permanently. We talked about Steve Chandler, who's the one who used the phrase the big get, a few weeks ago in the episode about how your vocabulary affects how you age. I read a pretty long quote of his about who he calls owners versus victims. The way they think and talk is different. Phil Stutz and Barry Michaels wrote a book called The Tools, and they refer to those same two categories of people as consumers versus creators. In their book, they say, the consumer expects a reward for the slightest effort, or better, for no effort at all. He cares only about what he gets from the world, not about what he might add to it. Living on the surface, jumping from thing to thing, his energy is diffused, like milk spreading across a tabletop. He makes no impact on the world. When his time on earth is over, it's as if he never lived. The creator won't accept that fate. Everything he does is with the intention of making an impact on the world. His code ensures this. He doesn't accept the world as he finds it. He brings things into the world that aren't already there. He resists superficial distractions. He remains focused on his goals even if he has to sacrifice his immediate gratification. Anyone can live by this code, but very few of us do. End quote. If we live the way the world instructs us to, goal-driven and focused on the big get, we live on the surface, jumping from thing to thing, making no real impact on the world. When our time on earth is over, it's as if we never lived. Yikes! Is that the realization you want to have at the end of your life? I got the car I wanted, then a nicer car after that, and the vacation house, and the prestigious job, or the advanced degree, or the social media following, or whatever the thing is. And it's as if I never lived. Getting something for nothing sounds like a dream come true, but it might actually end up being a nightmare you'd be lucky to avoid. In Thus Spoke Zarathustra, Nietzsche says, "This is the manner of noble souls. They do not want to have anything for nothing, least of all life. Whoever is of the mob wants to live for nothing. We others, however, to whom life gave itself, we always think about what we might best give in return. One should not wish to enjoy where one does not give joy." End quote. I like the idea of not being part of the mob. That's a good way to think of people who want to get something for nothing. Makes me think of those Black Friday shoppers willing to punch someone's grandma to get $10 off a blender, whatever. Being a savvy shopper is fine, but we don't want that to be our general attitude toward life. That what's in it for me, how much can I take mindset makes your life worse. The actual paragraph in Steve Chandler's book says, most people focus on the big get. They want to know what their efforts will get them. But the final truth is surprising. Life focused on what you're going to get is always less abundant than life focused on what you can give. Because giving requires creativity and courage, while getting is just another form of fear. End quote. What do you think about that? Is being focused on receiving another form of fear? I've never thought of it that way before, but I can totally see how it fits. If you're focused on what you can get, notoriety, status, money, an exclusive invitation, a certain appearance, there is a certain level of fear there. Fear of being a person not worthy of those things, and fear that there's not enough to go around. If someone else nabs your big get first, you're screwed. What are you working toward right now? Is there anything you're trying to achieve that is making you anxious these days? If so, is it possible that you're focusing more on what you can get than what you can give? Let's say you have a goal to lose 20 pounds this year. You know it's actually healthy for your situation. That's great. If you do what you're told to do, focus on the outcome, imagine yourself in smaller clothes, envision how much more people will admire how you look, how much better your life will be, how much more confident you'll instantly become, I'd say you're focused on the big get. It's a lot of work to change your body, and if you're in the mindset of the big get, your efforts are only worth it if you get the outcome you want. Not just the change on the scale, but the admiration and sense of finally being a better, more worthy person. I think that's a fear-based approach, and how much more so would it be if the goal were to get all of those things without having to do any work? That's the promise of so many weight loss programs. It'll deliver all of the so-called benefits with none of the work. You definitely appreciate things more if you have to work hard for them. But even then, as long as everything you do is tied to succeeding or failing to obtain the outcome you desire, it's so much harder to reach your goal. And if you do manage to get there, you'll find out that you're still you, but in smaller jeans. Getting the thing didn't change who you fundamentally are because you're in consumer mode rather than creator mode. You're acting based on fear, based on the big get. Hey there, I wanted to quickly interrupt and let you know that it's so much less of a struggle to consistently dominate your health choices when the thoughts you think naturally nudge you toward what you're trying to achieve. If you're looking to more consistently rock your healthy behaviors, I have a completely free 18-minute mini course for smart women like you who know that sometimes a quick mind flip can go a long way. Click the link in the show notes or go to healthcourage.ck/page/mini for this free mini course on 6 thoughts people who consistently rock their health choices think, and start putting one of them to good use inside your head today. If you can somehow shift focus to what you can give, you'll be acting from abundance, creativity, and courage. If you can focus on your process without seeing every action as a sacrifice that's only worth it if you get the thing as quickly as possible, you'll discover that there's so much more goodness available to you. You'll see the challenges along your path as opportunities to gain skills and characteristics that will help you become more of the person you want to be, rather than as a sacrificial price that you'd rather not have to pay and is only worth it if you get the exact thing you want in the exact way you want to get it. Can you feel how much more abundant it feels to focus on the valuable lessons you can learn from logging your food every day? The healthy movement varieties you're excited to discover that you love for the first time, and the encouragement and tips you can give to others on similar journeys, rather than swearing that the deprivation of not being able to enjoy anything for a week better pay off in the end. On any journey worth taking, problems and obstacles will arise. When you're acting more from abundance than from fear, otherwise known as the big get, you suddenly see that those problems aren't so Dr. Evil after all. They're not the thing preventing you from reaching your big get. They're the thing that develops you into the person strong enough to accomplish more than you ever imagined you could. Steve Chandler says, all problems become advanced seminars in what I now need to learn to advance on this spiritual journey up the ladder of consciousness to some real fun and good mischief. Would you sign up for an advanced seminar called What I Now Need to Learn to Advance on This Spiritual Journey Up the Ladder of Consciousness to Some Real Fun and Good Mischief? I think that's an awesome way to think of problems, as something that enables you to be able to advance to the level of good mischief. Something else I've learned in the past few years that I'm starting to see everywhere is an idea from Dr. Phil Stutz. He's my mentor's mentor. I've been on a few Zoom calls with him now, and there's even a Netflix documentary about him called Stutz. Anyway, he teaches that the source of most of our frustration in life is that we think we're going to be exonerated. We think if we do everything right, we'll arrive somewhere where we'll be exonerated from all of our struggles. I totally see this as the big get now. We could use our 20-pound example from earlier, but it could be anything. Becoming Insta-famous, buying a certain house, getting married, getting a particular job, whatever. Once we get our big get, the less effort required, the better, we'll be exonerated from all of the things that are making us miserable right now. All of the bad stuff in our life will magically disappear, like super glue at my house. It's just gone. Nobody saw anything. It's like it never existed in the first place. The big get is so appealing because we think it offers deliverance from our current life. Nope. This is why Phil teaches that we all need to know that we're never going to be exonerated, especially from three things: pain, uncertainty, and hard work. If we can learn to fully accept that life will always be full of pain, uncertainty, and hard work, everything changes. I can see it, I understand it, but it still kind of feels like a letdown, like Bill and Ted's Bogus Journey. Wah, wah. Really? But if we can learn to accept that we'll never get to a magical, struggle-free state, never be exonerated, even if we get the thing we want, then our efforts become more inward focused, which accidentally delivers way more outward power. We may realize that we didn't even care about that thing we thought we wanted so much. When we're focused on the thing we want to get and we still believe it will exonerate us, if we do manage to get it, we run the risk of spinning out and feeling even worse rather than better once we realize that our life hasn't become all cotton candy and Ferris wheel rides. We see it all the time with celebrities who have everything you think you'd ever want but end up self-destructing. We think we want to kick back and have everything come easy to us, but we're programmed to feel a deep sense of flourishing when we're making an effort, when we have a worthy adversary, when we're off autopilot and our storyline is compelling, when we're acting like the hero in our own story. The hero faces pain, uncertainty, and hard work. And the hero is focused on making other people's lives better, on giving all she's got for the greater good. The hero is often summoned by life. Rather than focusing on what she can get from life, she's able to discern what life needs from her, what difference she can make. How could she become the master that people around her need her to be? George Leonard said, "For a master, the rewards gained along the way are fine, but they're not the main reason for the journey. Ultimately, the master and the master's path are one, and if the traveler is fortunate, that is, if the path is complex and profound enough, the destination gets 2 miles farther away for every mile he or she travels." End quote. Have you ever been on a journey that was so enjoyable that for every mile you travel, you hope the destination gets 2 miles farther away? That feeling that you hope the journey never has to end is pretty much the opposite of the big get. The big get is all about what you can get, how fast, and how little work you can put into it. The master's path is about what you experience and who you become along the way. And some of what you experience along the way is pain, uncertainty, and hard work. As Phil Stutz says, a few rare individuals refuse to have limited lives. They drive through tremendous amounts of pain, from rejections and failures to shorter moments of embarrassment and anxiety. They also handle the small, tedious pain required for personal discipline, forcing themselves to do things we all know we should do but don't. like exercising, eating right, and staying organized. Because they avoid nothing, they can pursue their highest aspirations. They seem more alive than the rest of us." End quote. Instead of focusing on what you can get from life for as little effort as possible so you can be exonerated, if you're willing to, as Phil Stutz puts it, avoid nothing, that's when you can actually pursue your highest aspirations. It's not easy, but it's the only thing that actually works. I see this so much in the pharmacy world. We're conditioned to believe that health challenges are to be immediately eradicated with a magic pill without our having to think about or do anything, and our insurance should pay for it. The whole narrative and focus and research budget in our society is on novel drug and device innovation, a pill for an ill, the quick fix, the big get. When people choose to go against the grain and pursue a path of mastery rather than one aimed at an external marker for success, they're operating from abundance instead of fear. They avoid nothing and seem more alive than the rest of us. They enjoy the mastery process, and happiness and success show up as a byproduct. They forget about what they can take, focus on what they can give, and who they become ends up being their big get. Thank you so much for being here with me today. You are fantastic. Next week, we're going to talk about whether you should question evidence-based medicine. Until then, forget about the big get, refuse to live a limited life, and don't be normal. Thank you so much for tuning into the Health Courage Collective podcast. I am truly honored that you have paid me the enormous compliment of your time and attention. I would be so grateful if you would share this podcast with someone you know and subscribe so you never miss an episode. This podcast is for entertainment and information purposes only. Statements and views on this podcast are not medical advice. This podcast, including Christina Hackett and producers, disclaim responsibility for any possible adverse events by use of information contained herein. If you think you have a medical problem, consult a licensed physician.